The RMT union has announced 2 more strike days in their dispute with Network Rail and 18 train operating companies. The union will strike on the 18th and 20th of August, in addition to the previously announced strike on July the 27th. The dispute concerns below inflation pay increases and plans by the rail companies to cut back Britain's rail workforce. One immediate consequence of this latest announcement is that, once again, representatives of RMT have been invited to put forward their case on British TV. This was the RMT's Assistant General Secretary, Eddie Dempsey, challenging Channel 5's framing of the strike.
I have to tell you, it's a bit of a cheek having a programme asking trade unions being greedy for asking for a pay rise. The FTSE 350 top companies in this country, their profits have gone up 73% since 2019. When are we going to ask, are they being greedy? What about the railway companies that have been ripping this country off for years?
The point is,
no one asks about their profits or whether they're greedy.
You're going on strike, and it's going to impact
We're going on
everyday
strike.
people going to work. It's at
That's
the start
right.
of the Commonwealth Games. That's going to
No, it's not at the start of the Commonwealth Games.
Summer, at its height.
It's not
That's
at the
how we're
start of the
talking about
Commonwealth
this.
Games. We didn't strike on the Commonwealth Games. It's the day before.
The day before it starts.
The day before is not the Commonwealth Games.
As it's starting, you've got people
It
travelling.
starts the day
potentially.
after. They'll be travelling on the day too.
To Birmingham for the
Listen,
Games. It's going to impact them,
people will
as
find
you
it
know.
hard on a strike day, but people will find it hard when it's not a strike day, because there's people in this country spending 18% of their income travelling on trains. We've got the highest fares in Europe because profiteers have been robbing this country blind for years. At the same time, later on in this year, energy prices are going to be so high, some of my people will be spending 2 full months of take-home pay on energy. And you're telling us that we're greedy for expecting workers to keep up with that. What we need in this country is a cost of living crisis addressed through the wage packet, and we need price caps on energy, and we need the profits taken down a peg or two. Because the people at the top of the economy, they're having a disco, and everyone else is being told that they've got to carry the can and tighten their belts. It's not on.
Dempsey was then challenged by Anne Widdecombe on whether a pay rise for rail workers would lead to uncontrollable inflation. Let's see who came out on top.
Workers' pay rises cannot keep up with inflation if you're not to have a wage price spiral. Well, you know that. It's got
rubbish.
to be below inflation.
That's absolute rubbish. What's caused inflation is the shock of the supply chains from the global health emergency and rampant profits. 73% profits are up since 2019. Pay at the top is going through the roof.
Nobody's arguing that. What I'm
no
saying
one's
to you
worried
is
about pay at the top, Anne.
You cannot match inflation.
Why not?
With pay. I've just explained, because then you get into the
What
wage
about
price
profits?
spiral. Then you get into the wage price
But people at the top are all right. Their profits can carry on going through the roof. For 30 years in this country, wages have not kept up with inflation. At the same time, profits have rarely not exceeded inflation.
You tell me
there has been a transfer of wealth from working class people to people at the top, and that can't carry on. That has got to change.
We'll talk about the strikes in more detail in one moment. First of all, though, Aaron, I want your thoughts on seeing the RMT back on our television screens.
Are you familiar with La Masia, the sort of academy that develops all the Barcelona youth prospects for their football team?
Not.
Iniesta and Xavi and Lionel Messi and Sergio Busquets and these really world-class players. The RMT is kind of like La Masia in terms of outspoken, eloquent trade unionists going on our media, Bob Crow, Mick Lynch, Eddie Dempsey. And I don't say that lightly. This trade union, which is in a way, very radical, it's not radical in so much as it's asking for outlandish things. It's radical because it sticks up for its members and puts noses out of joint. And they can do that because of the way that industry works. With transport, you can't redeploy jobs like you can in manufacturing. You can't say, well, if you're not going to take it and suck it up, we're going to send your job to China. You obviously can't do that with the London Underground. So that historically has meant jobs like longshoremen, port workers, miners, transport workers, because their jobs can't be relocated. It gives them that bit more leverage, and they're that bit more radical and stand up for themselves over the last 30 years, even in places like Britain, which obviously have seen their labour movements decimated. But you've got this small trade union, only 60, 70,000 people, and they're producing figures like this because they have a vibrant political debate within their organisation, and they listen to members and they represent members, and they're not transfixed by the spectacle, or rather the debacle of Westminster politics. They do their job, and they do it very well. And just to see that repeatedly on television is kind of like jaw-dropping. This isn't meant to happen. This isn't in the script. You know, the whole point of if you go on the television, you're meant to say wage price spiral. You're meant to sound really intelligent. Does Anne Widdecombe have a degree in economics? Has she ever started a business? I have no idea. I honestly have no idea. But it generally is people with backgrounds in marketing, career politicians, lawyers. Well, you've never started a business. You've not even studied formal economics. What the hell do you know about a wage price spiral? They're just parroting lines from the 1980s, the 1990s. Well, guess what? In those 2 decades, we didn't have inflation going above 9, 10, 11%, which is what we're having now. So put your platitudes and cliches back in the box, because we're in a very different political period. And that's being acknowledged by trade unions, particularly the RMT, but not by establishment media. And the extent to which, I tweeted about this the other day, Michael. I said, if I was in political risk, if I worked, and I would never have a suit and tie job in the City of London, but political risk is really interesting. You're looking at big macro, trends, and you're saying, well, where's going to get better return on investment? Where are safe environments for profitability? Where might we want to hedge certain risks? And I would be looking at the UK and thinking, their entire political and media class is talking complete gobbledygook and gibberish, and the only people making sense to the public at large are representatives from a radical trade union with 70,000 members. When that happens, I think, I may be wrong, that's the canary in the coal mine. And it augurs very poorly in terms of political predictability. So I think over the next 6 months, we are going to see some really unprecedented things in British politics. And I think this really indicates that more than anything else. Like I said, Eddie Dempsey talking so much sense, Mick Lynch talking so much sense, the talking heads, the people with the expensive haircuts and clothes and kitchens and Ballum and Putney, they're all at sea talking complete gibberish. And I think over 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, the electorate, the general public, whether they vote Labour, Tory or Lib Dem, will think, these people aren't serious, are they? And that opens a whole set of political possibilities.